Breaking news this week, President Donald Trump just ordered a complete termination to California's wasteful high-speed rail project. But here's the news. Trump can't stop the project. Only you can. Coming up, I'll tell you all about the details about how Gavin Newsom's going to get around Trump's order and what we can do to fight back. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator. Let me put on the table right up front. The high-speed rail project in California is an absolute boondoggle. It is grift. It is designed by California politicians like Gavin Newsom and the Democrat supermajority to give kickbacks to their campaign contributors. It's an absolutely awful project on so many fronts, and it needs to be terminated. This week, President Trump announced that his administration was going to terminate the project and no more funds will be spent on it. I absolutely appreciate what Trump is doing, but it's not enough to stop this terrible project. Only you, the California voter, can stop this project, and I'll tell you how in just a moment. We will cover what Trump said and how Governor Gavin Newsom is going to be getting around Trump's efforts to stop the project. But this is where Reform California is so crucial. This is the movement. This is the resistance to take back our state from the insanity of the far left. And it doesn't happen unless you get involved. It's great that we have a president that's fighting for us, but you have a lot of things happening on the ground in California with state and local elected officials. And if we don't change that, we can't save California. And of course, federal administrations come and go. So Trump announcing he's pulling the plug on high-speed rail only lasts to the end of his term. Hopefully, we get a Republican in there in 2028, but anything could happen. And that's one of the strategies that Newsom and the Democrats are counting on to keep this boondoggle project alive. That's why it always comes back to our shoulders to actually do the hard work on the ground here in California to change the direction of our state. Go to the website reformcalifornia.org. reformcalifornia.org. That is ground zero in the fight for sanity in our state, to take back our state from the left. Go to the bottom of the site and sign up. If you're not signed up and part of our movement, you're not going to know what's going on in your area. You're not going to know what candidates we're endorsing for higher office, from judgeship all the way up to the state assembly and Congress. You're not going to get our plain English voter guide telling you what the ballot measures are doing. Sign up at the bottom of the website. Be tethered into this growing movement. Plus, please do chip in a contribution. We can't do any of this work. We can't recruit candidates, train them, endorse them, support them. Can't mount our campaigns like California Voter ID without your help. So chip in a contribution of any amount. Okay, let's get started with what happened this week. Here's President Trump announcing on Truth Social. Trump rescinds the $4 billion in U.S. funding for the California high-speed rail project. This is federal funding. So this was federal funding that Biden had approved that Trump is now snaking back. And Trump says, quote, "This project was severely overpriced, overregulated, and never delivered. The railroad we were promised still does not exist and never will." That's truth. This project, as I've said from the get-go, will never be built. It's only designed to be window dressing, a front for Gavin Newsom and California Democrat politicians to continue to basically give kickbacks to their campaign supporters, billions of dollars of your money going into their pockets. Gavin Newsom obviously says, well, who cares? We're still going to go forward with the project. And there's a sinister provision that Gavin Newsom put in the California state budget 2 weeks ago that I warned you about, that now is going to be very important for Newsom and Democrats to keep this program, the high-speed rail program, alive on life support. So the first thing that Newsom says is, actually, let me back up and tell you, for those of you who may not know why high-speed rail is so bad, let me tell you why this is bad. In 2008, Newsom, Jerry Brown, Democrats, and their campaign consultants came up with this idea of, hey, why don't we just do a massive project that's all about climate change? And what we'll do is we'll use that project to just bill and bilk and grift for the next 25, 30 years and fund politics and get rich. So they said, we're going to have a high-speed rail train from Southern California all the way up to the Bay Area. That's what they promised us. Now, mind you, we already have high-speed rail. It's called Southwest Airlines. Anywhere in California, you can get within an hour just by getting on an airplane. And look, those Southwest Airlines tickets, I'm not doing an ad for them, but they're affordable. High-speed rail was never really something that the market wanted. Consumers weren't saying, oh, gee, we want a rail project. No, we've got transportation options. It's just these, holier than thou environmental government central planners saying, wouldn't it be nice to have a train? Well, they came forward and they said, if you give us $8 billion, taxpayers, if you let us go into $8 billion of debt, we will get the train built for that amount for taxpayers. And the private industry will come in and invest the rest. The whole project tops $25 billion, maybe $30 billion. And it will be done by 2018. 10 years, we'll get it done. That was in 2008. And they said in the initiative, not a penny more than the $8 billion. They lied to us. Man, it's sort of like Enron-style accounting. At least in the private sector, they can go to jail, but not in government. Newsom and the politicians, they just continue to repeatedly lie. And the media in California gives them a pass, pats on the back, helps collude to cover it up. So taxpayers were lied to. They were scammed in 2008. What's happening now? It's 2025. The project's not built. The project's not going to be built. There's no foreseeable timeline to get the project done. Instead of going from Southern California to Northern California, they're now going from Bakersfield to Merced. Ooh, wow, boy, that's a high trafficked area. And it's not going to be $8 billion. We're now looking at taxpayers fully funding the project, $135 billion and counting. And so Trump is pulling the plug, at least on the federal funding, but we still have state funding. What we have is $1 billion, and this is what I told you 2 weeks ago. This was the lifeline. This was the scam that Gavin Newsom had concocted. 2 weeks ago, he and the Democrat legislators, and the media did not report this, put in $1 billion in the state budget, but then said that they would do a continuing appropriation every year for the foreseeable future. Why is that important to say in the budget it's going to be a continuing appropriation of $1 billion a year? It's because Newsom has a scheme to take out the taxpayer's credit card and bond, get $20 billion worth of bonds in your name, the taxpayer's name. And the reason why he says it's continuing appropriation is that bond holders are going to demand that a continuing revenue source be identified before they buy a bond for high-speed rail projects, because they need to be assured that the money is going to be there every year to pay the debt service on the bonds. An earmark is what they were looking for. And that's exactly what Gavin Newsom and the California Democrat legislature quietly gave the high-speed rail project in the budget. A budget, by the way, that's $20 billion in deficit. And the media didn't report on it. So when Trump says, I'm canceling the project, boy, I wish that were true, but that's only the federal portion of the project. The state portion, you, the taxpayer, are still responsible for, and Newsom is trying to lock us in like handcuffs, financial handcuffs, by issuing these bonds, taking the $20 billion, giving it to his special interest backers, his campaign contributors, and laughing all the way to the bank, or as he's trying to do, laughing all the way to the White House, because he needs to give out these no bid, wasteful contracts for high speed rail to get a portion of the money back for his presidential campaign. Anyway, so Newsom responds with this nonsense. Governor Newsom responds to Trump's latest gift to China, defunding America's only high speed rail. Oh, God. So he basically says that China China is going to benefit. Now, mind you, Trump has been pretty harsh on China. Okay. Last week, Newsom was saying that Trump shouldn't be as hard on China with the tariffs. Now he's saying, oh, China's going to benefit from the cancellation of the project. No, it has nothing to do with China. And by the way, let's look at, a press release from Newsom on his website from 2 years ago. What Governor Newsom's trip to China accomplished? Who's really giving gifts to China, like China building windmills that we then buy for the Green New Deal, the Green New Deal projects in California? There's Newsom, asshat that he is and all, signing a bloated no-bid contract for China to sell us these stupid windmills, and that you have to pay for in your electricity bill with a higher per kilowatt hour rate. Here's Newsom, meeting with the Chinese Communist Party on climate change. Now, mind you, the Chinese laugh because they're emitting all this extra carbon into the atmosphere while selling all the Green New Deal products like windmill and solar panels, but they don't actually use them. They use dirty energy, carbon-based energy. Oh, there's Newsom, meeting with a senior Chinese Communist Party official. That's right. Hey, how you doing? Walking through a manufacturing plant. Look at all the jobs that the Chinese have taken from blue-collar workers in California. Oh, there's his wife, probably talking about gender identity. There you go. Look, Newsom is in the pocket of the Chinese. He keeps ordering things from them with state taxpayer money, like that $1 billion mask contract for $6 per mask during 2020. Or how about going over to China and touting their automobile manufacturer, BYD, I think it was, that's now probably on the brink of bankruptcy, according to the latest reports. This guy is the Manchurian candidate, if we've ever seen one. Look, if we want the high-speed rail train to stop and be canceled and to save at least a little bit of money, we've got to flip seats in the California state legislature. And we've got to start becoming more competitive in the governor's race, which I believe we can win next year, but it's going to take a whole lot of people working together to change the political direction. It's going to take California voter ID, actually. If we can get a fraud-free, fair election, we really then become more competitive in California. Trust me, it will happen with a California voter ID. It's a game changer. That's why we're leading that effort to get that qualified. We're leading the effort to try to get a balanced budget that gets rid of welfare for undocumented and, of course, cancels high-speed rail. We can only do that if you join the movement at reformcalifornia.org, chip in a contribution, sign up. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.